Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mangue is an Equatorial Guinean politician who has served as the first Vice President of Equatorial Guinea since June 22, 2016. He is a son of Teodoro Obiang, President of Equatorial Guinea, by his wife, Constancia Mangue. He has been appointed to numerous government positions by his father's regime, including Minister of Agriculture and Forestry and Second Vice President, in charge of Defense and Security, in May 2012. He was promoted to the position of First Vice President in June 2016. Known for his lavish lifestyle, he has been the subject of a number of international criminal charges and sanctions for alleged embezzlement and corruption. His net worth is $600 million, including his yacht, private jets, and luxury cars. Nguema studied at the École de Rocs in Normandy, a French private school. He registered to attend Pepperdine University in Malibu, California, United States, for a 4-term non-degree program in English as a second language. He lived lavishly at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel and rarely attended class. He dropped out after only 5 months, reportedly at the behest of university administrators. Nguema served as advisor to the presidency in the 1990s and subsequently as Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, a post he held for about 15 years. It was reported in 2005 that Nguema was to be made Vice President of Equatorial Guinea, which, according to the constitution, would allow him to accede to the presidency upon his father's retirement. He was eventually elevated to the post of Second Vice President, in charge of Defense and Security, on May 21, 2012, alongside former Prime Minister Ignacio Millam Tang, who was designated as First Vice President. After 4 years as Second Vice President, he was promoted to the post of First Vice President, while remaining in charge of Defense and Security, on June 22, 2016. This move, which followed his father's re-election in the April 2016 presidential election, placed him clearly in line to succeed his father. As Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, Nguema was paid €3,200 a month. The New York Times reported in 2004 that Nguema was a rap music entrepreneur and bon vivant, fond of Lamborghinis and long trips to Hollywood and Rio de Janeiro. Super yacht Tatouche was hired for £400,000 by him for a Christmas cruise on which he entertained rap singer Eve. Nguema drew criticism from the international media for spending close to $10,000,000 over a weekend in South Africa on champagne, property renovations, a black 2004 Bentley Arnage, a cream 2003 Bentley Continental R from MG Rover Cape Town and a 2005 Lamborghini Murcielago, although some assets may soon be forcibly auctioned due to his failure to pay a South African businessman. American law enforcement officials believe that most or perhaps all of his wealth comes from corruption connected to oil and gas reserves in Equatorial Guinea. Nguema's foreign interests include 2 houses in South Africa, worth a combined $50,000,000, a $31 million compound in Malibu, California, U.S., a 5,000 square feet, 460 square meters, home on Avenue Foch in the affluent 16th arrondissement of Paris, and the hip-hop music record label TNO Entertainment. In 2008 he owned one of the 30 models of the Bugatti Veyron 16.4 sports car, estimated at €1,100,000, and a Maserati MC12 at €700,000. He went on to purchase another Bugatti Veyron, and tried to purchase a third. In late 2011, both Veyrons, as well as 9 other cars he owned, were seized by French police investigating corruption. In July 2013, the confiscated goods were sold at auction. On January 19, 2013, Nguema's father, Teodoro Obiang, arrested Roberto Berardi, an Italian building contractor, active for 20 years in Africa. After working in Cameroon, Berardi had formed a construction company with him, but discovered some strange operations on the current account and asked for an explanation. A few hours later, the Italian contractor was arrested on charges of fraud and embezzlement. Berardi was fined €1.2 million and jailed. No charges were brought from Italy against Obiang. Berardi was released on July 9, 2015 after more than 2 years of detention. On October 18, 2016, Swiss prosecutors opened an investigation on Nguema after he landed 8 times in Geneva. French authorities had asked them for judicial assistance. He eventually reached an accommodation with the Swiss, letting them sell his seized luxury cars, valued at 18.5 million Swiss francs, and the payment of 1.3 million Swiss francs. On September 27, 2019, in an auction organized by British auctioneers Bonhams, 25 luxury cars were sold for 23.4 m Swiss francs. On September 14, 2018, Nguema flew on an official plane to Brazil with other 9 passengers and had some of their 19 bags searched by the Brazilian border police in Viracopos Campinas International Airport. They found approximately $1.4 million in cash and 20 watches with estimated value of $15 million. In October 2011, 7 years after the United States Senate Homeland Security Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations exposed the Nguema's family secret accounts at Riggs Bank in Washington, and 5 years after nonprofit Global Witness discovered his mansion purchase in Malibu, the U.S. Justice Department went to court to seize $70 million, £44 million, of his U.S. assets, which include a Gulfstream jet, yachts, cars and Michael Jackson memorabilia. On June 11, 2012, the United States Department of Justice, DOJ, filed an amended complaint against Nguema, after a judge requested more evidence of the alleged corruption. The revised complaint states that he spent $315 million on properties and luxury goods between 2004 and 2011. According to the foreign complaint, he, while Minister of Forestry, levied personal taxes against local and foreign timber companies for licenses to operate and export timber, such as a $28.80 tax for every log exported, to fund his lavish lifestyle. The foreign prosecutors state that his expenditures were inconsistent with both his known salary of less than $100,000 per year, and the income he purportedly generated from his companies. In October 2014, he reached a settlement with the United States Department of Justice to pay the U.S. DOJ some of the funds held at accounts on his behalf, as well as his Malibu home, a Ferrari, and portions of his Michael Jackson collection, for a total estimated value of $34 million. Upon the resolution of the settlement, he was able to keep his Gulfstream jet, as well as some of the Michael Jackson memorabilia, including the $275,000 crystal Michael Jackson glove which he wore during his 1987-89 Bad Tour, and other assets. $20 million of the proceeds was pledged, on DOJ's website, to go to a charitable institution for the benefit of the people of Equatorial Guinea. Another $10.3 million was pledged to be used for the benefit of the people of Equatorial Guinea to the extent permitted by law. Since both of these pledges, there have been no records of the funds sent to any of the citizens, nor any of the infrastructure of Equatorial Guinea. In February 2012, a Parisian mansion belonging to Nguema, worth around €100 million, was raided by French police and they discovered luxury goods inside worth millions of euros. In July 2012, an arrest warrant was issued for him. The mansion was seized by French authorities in August 2012. He was indicted by the French justice on several counts of corruption and money laundering with an in absentia trial beginning in 2017. In response, Equatorial Guinea filed a case against France in the International Court of Justice accusing France of breaching the diplomatic immunity of its representatives and premises. In the preliminary phase, the court found that France must guarantee the protection of the premises presented as housing the diplomatic mission of Equatorial Guinea in France. In December 2020 it ruled that the mansion was never a diplomatic premises. In September 2016, the district attorneys Roger L. Lawyer and Charlotte Bilger referred Nguema to the Criminal Court of Paris, and issued an arrest warrant through Interpol. This procedure was validated by the International Court of Justice in December 2016. The French trial concluded in October 2017 with Nguema receiving a suspended sentence of 3 years plus a suspended fine of €30 million. His properties in France, as well as 17 luxury cars, were also seized, including the Parisian mansion. On July 22, 2021, the United Kingdom imposed sanctions on Nguema over lavish lifestyle spending, which he spent on mansions, private jets, among other things. In retaliation, the Foreign Minister of Equatorial Guinea, Simeonoye Isanoang, announced the closure of the country's embassy in London, as the British government sanctioned Nguema. The minister said that it was the first measure and that Equatorial Guinea will not allow interference in internal affairs. Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mangue, born June 25, 1968, nicknamed Teodorine, is the Vice President of Equatorial Guinea, in office since 2012. He is a son of Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo, the President of Equatorial Guinea, by his first wife, Constancia Mangue Nsue Okomo. He served for years as Minister of Agriculture and Forestry in his father's government before being appointed as second Vice President, in charge of Defense and Security, in May 2012. He was promoted to the position of first Vice President in June 2016. For a man paid less than $3,000 a month, the 16 acres of mansion, designer golf course and sprawling gardens speckled with fountains in Malibu was quite a buy. The views of the ocean alone, never mind the 15,000 square feet mansion with 8 bathrooms, a pool, and tennis courts, probably accounted for a good chunk of the $35 million asking price. But then Teodoro Nguema Obiang's modest salary as a minister in his father's government in Equatorial Guinea is largely symbolic, just like the elections in which his father is returned to power with 97% of the vote and the distribution of oil revenues in a country with one of the highest per capita incomes on earth but some of the poorest people. Equatorial Guinea's Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mangue, nicknamed Teodorine, Vice President of Equatorial Guinea, son of his country's president, and heir apparent to that office, made headlines this week. According to media reports, authorities in Brazil seized some $16 million in cash and high-end watches from his delegation, where he had reportedly traveled for medical treatment. Brazilian law limits the amount of cash visitors can bring into the country to $2,400. The 11-man entourage, traveling on a government plane, landed in Viracopos International Airport in Campinas in São Paulo on Friday, according to media reports. Police found $1.5 million in cash and watches worth an estimated $15 million in 2 bags, the other 17 bags had clothes. Global reports that Equatorial Guinea's embassy told the Brazilian police in a statement that the money was for Mr. Obiang's use on an onward trip to Singapore, while the watches, engraved with his initials, were for his personal use. Brazil's foreign ministry told news agency AFP that it was in permanent coordination with the federal police and the customs service over the case and to decide what measures should be taken. Mr. Obiang was the only member of the delegation who had diplomatic immunity as the group was not on an official mission, Globo reports. Police searched other delegation members as Mr. Obiang waited outside in a car, it added. This sort of awkward international incident is not particularly novel for Vice President Obiang. In 2016, Swiss authorities seized 11 of his luxury cars as part of an investigation into corruption and money laundering that culminated in his conviction for embezzlement, in absentia, in a Paris court last year. In 2014, he resolved the U.S. Justice Department's charges that he used his country's public funds for private gain by reaching a $30 million settlement with federal authorities, requiring him to sell his Malibu mansion, a Ferrari, and some of his Michael Jackson memorabilia. None of these previous brushes with the law seem to have cramped the vice president's style, much of which he documents on Instagram. The days of the Bugattis, the Chateau Petrus and the fine Parisian restaurants may be over for Teodoro Obiang, at least in Western Europe. The son of Equatorial Guinea's leader is due to go on trial for corruption and money laundering in a landmark case in France. Obiang, the 47-year-old vice president of the oil-rich but impoverished African country, faces an array of legal cases across Europe as authorities on the continent investigate the sources of his vast wealth and uncover new and even more extravagant ways that he spent some of it. Equatorial Guinea has gone to the United Nations highest court to challenge a conviction in France against its vice president for embezzling public money from the oil-rich but impoverished West African country, on the grounds that he has diplomatic immunity. The extraordinary dispute over the status of Teodoro Obiang, whose fleet of Bugatti and Porsche cars was towed away by police during the French investigation, is being argued over at the International Court of Justice in The Hague this week. The court, which usually deals with disputes over international borders, heard submissions from French lawyers on Monday morning that the claim on behalf of Obiang, 48, whose father is president of Equatorial Guinea, should be struck out. In 2017, he was accused of money laundering and was handed a 3-year suspended sentence in France. The court also ordered the seizure of his assets in France, estimated to be worth $116 million at the time. In 2011, a petition requesting the confiscation of Obiang's $70 million worth of assets in the U.S. was dismissed, but Obiang agreed to forfeit some funds and assets including a fancy Malibu home, a Ferrari, and portions of his Michael Jackson's memorabilia collection. In 2016, the government of Switzerland seized a number of Obiang's luxurious vehicles and a yacht estimated to be worth $100 million. Equatorial Guinea is one of Africa's poorest nation and has Africa's longest-serving president estimated to be worth $200 million. Thank you for watching this video.